Hello homeschool moms. In this video, I want to share with you how I'm modifying the BJU Press Distance Learning program to help minimize the screen time and reduce the workload for my children. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos about BJU Press and their distance learning program, you know that I actually love BJU Press Distance Learning. It's been a great fit for my family the last few years, but that doesn't mean that it's a good fit for every family. I think it is working really well for us these last few years, but I don't think it would have been a good fit in in the beginning of our homeschooling journey. There was just other curriculum that worked better for us then. But the last few years, I've needed my kids to work more independently and to reduce the amount of time that I'm teaching and giving instruction, and BJU Press Distance Learning has been a great fit. Now, one of the reasons it's been a good fit is because I've been modifying the curriculum, and this year I've been modifying it even more. And I've had a lot of you ask me what I'm doing to minimize the screen time a little bit more, what I'm doing to lighten that workload. So that's what I want to share with you here today in this video. Now, for me and my family, there are three aspects of the BJU Press Distance Learning program that kind of overwhelm us sometimes, that seem like a lot of work. The first one is the videos. The videos can sometimes be long, especially if you're doing more than, a couple subjects. So a couple years ago, we were only using BJU Press Distance Learning for one or two subjects. The amount of time my kids were watching videos and on the screen didn't seem that big of a deal. But when they're doing pretty much every subject on with the distance learning program and they're in front of a screen, it can seem like a lot of screen time and also just like a lot of teaching time. It consumes a lot of their time and school seems to drag out. So I'm going to share with you some things that I'm doing to minimize the screen time, things that I'm doing with the videos. But the second area that seems to kind of overwhelm my family, at least, is all of the work text pages, the handouts, and all of the activities. The distance learning program comes with the work textbooks, but it also comes with additional handouts. And sometimes you think the work text pages are too much, and then you throw in handouts and other activities. So I'm going to talk with you a little bit about how I reduce the workload in that area as well. The third thing that I think can get overwhelming is all of the tests and the quizzes. So I'm going to start with the tests and quizzes and share with you what I do to make that a little bit easier. For 6th grade and down, I make the tests and quizzes a lot more manageable by not doing them. That's right. My 1st grade through 6th grade kids do not take any tests or quizzes. And actually my 7th, 8th grade graders, when they were using the distance learning program, they took the tests and quizzes sporadically, and it was more for them to just practice taking tests and quizzes. Now, when my kids get into high school, I do have them take tests and quizzes because I want to keep grades for their transcripts. I have not used BJU Press Distance Learning in the high school grades yet, so I can't really address that. But 6th grade and under, we don't do the tests and quizzes. That takes a huge workload and pressure off of me and my students. Now, the second thing that I want to address is work text pages, handouts, and all those activities. So first of all, when it comes to work text pages, handouts, and activities, I only have my students do the activities that they're interested in. If they have no interest in doing the activities, I just don't think it's going to be beneficial or a good use of our time, so we don't do them. We also do not do every work text page or handout. So let me tell you what we do. Ideally, I would look through the work text pages and handouts the day before and pull out the ones that I want my students to do. But that's not how it works because I'm not on top of it like that right now. What happens now is my child, whichever one it is, will tell me, okay, hey mom, I am on reading. Here they've pulled out the work text pages and handouts. They say, Mom, these are the ones that it says I should do. Which ones, Mom, do you want me to do? And I will look at the front and the back of that work text page, and I will look at that handout. And sometimes I will go like this: crumble, 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 toss into the recycling bin. They don't do any of the work text page or any of the handouts. If I don't think that it's going to be beneficial for them, if I don't think that it's going to aid in them learning and retaining the information, if I think it's just busy work, or frankly, if I am just done with school and I want to get through the material quicker, just being honest here, I will crumble it up and throw it in the recycling bin. And actually now my kids kind of look at me and like, Mom, if you're going to crumble that up, give it to me. I want to crumble it up. I want to throw it in the recycling bin. So we do not do every single work text page. We do not do every single handout. A lot of them don't get used at all, get thrown into the recycling bin. Now, we do use some of the work text pages. Actually, probably the majority of them we do use, and same thing with the handouts. But we almost never do every single problem on them. So when it comes to the work text pages especially, and the handouts, both of them, again, I will look over them. And usually what I do is I have my kids do the first couple problems on that work text page, or if it's like a math work text page where there's different sections, like this one's review of multiplication facts, and then the next section is covering the new material. I'll have them do just a couple problems from each section. If it looks like they understand the material and they've gotten the answers right, then that's it. I don't have them do any more. I don't think they need to do the entire work text page. For English, that front side that they usually do on the video with the teacher, if I'm kind of watching them and seeing that it looks like they're understanding the material, I might have them turn it over and try to do one or two on the back on their own. And if they can, they're done. We don't do the rest of it. I think the work text pages are really there to reinforce what our children have learned, to help them review things, kind of keep things fresh in their mind. But if they already know the material and they're doing well with it, I think it just becomes busy work and takes up their time and consumes their time, and it's a waste of their time. So we don't do every single work text page. And if we do use the work text pages, we do not do every single problem on them. Another thing that we do to try to speed things up and minimize the workload is a lot of times we'll do the work text pages orally. If it's something where my student can just say the answer to me and that'll make it go faster, then we'll do that, especially with my son. He is not a big pencil paper kind of person. And so if he's got like math review facts, I'll sit next to him and he just says, hey, 5 times 5, 25, 2 times 2, 4, instead of having to write it out. Now, I think there is a benefit in writing it out, and I do have him do that sometimes. But there are other times where I think, you know what? I just want him to review the information. I want to know that he understands it. I don't think there's any harm in having him do it orally to make it go a little bit faster. So that's kind of how I lighten the load when it comes to the work text pages and the handouts and the activities. Is there's a lot of it that we do not do. The third thing, and I think the one that you all want to know about, is the videos. How do I minimize screen time and lighten the load when it comes to the videos? Well, I have a lot of different ways that I'm modifying them. So I've written them down here. I'm going to be looking at my notes because I want to make sure that I cover everything, give you guys the most information and tips on how you could modify it. And I'm sure that as I share some of these, maybe you can think of some other ways that you could modify the program for your specific child. So one of the things that I'm doing differently this year is I am teaching some of the subjects myself. Now, I am not teaching the same subject every single day. So I'm not saying, okay, to my second grader, I'm going to teach you math every single day. We're just not going to do distance learning math. I think that the videos have great value in them because they go into detail and they review previous concepts. And when I'm teaching something, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, and I'm not going into a lot of detail, and I'm not reviewing previous concepts. So what I am doing is just saying, what 1 or 2 subjects could I teach each of my children on any given day? And I try to vary them. So if I'm teaching my second grader math on Monday, Then on Tuesday, I'm going to teach her something different like history or science. I'm not going to teach her math because I want her to get that detailed instruction and review from the video lesson. Now, when I'm deciding what to teach, when I start the day, I should really think about this the day before, but I don't. When I start the day and I'm looking at which subject do I want to teach each of my kids that day, I think about a couple things. One is, what can I teach quickly? I flip through the different subjects that they have and I think, what can I teach quickly? So for example, if there is a math lesson for my son and I think, okay, this is a pretty easy concept, I think I could cover this pretty quickly, I will do that. If it's maybe a history lesson that's more of a review or, just something that I think my student's not gonna have a lot of questions about, then I'll go ahead and teach history. Another thing that I think about when I'm picking which subject to teach them each day is, what does my child already know or they just need review on? And so I might look at, say, a science lesson and go, you know what, she had learned this last year, in which case we might just skip it all together. But sometimes I might think, well, maybe she just needs a review of it. So we're just gonna read the textbook pages, and that's it. We're done with science. And so when I'm teaching the lessons myself, it obviously reduces the screen time. If I'm teaching one lesson, that's cutting 15 to 20 minutes of screen time out of my child's time. If I'm doing 2 lessons, that could be up to 40 minutes of screen time that I am reducing from their day. Also, it's cutting out a lot of their workload because they're not having, I'm teaching it in a quick, short and sweet manner. And so kind of reduces the workload and cuts down on the screen time. Now, something else that I'm doing with modifying the videos is I am skipping things. For example, we are not doing any of the handwriting videos. We skip the handwriting videos completely. One of my students is using the handwriting workbooks. Another student is using a completely different handwriting curriculum. But I just feel like while the handwriting videos are very interesting, they have a lot of interesting things in them, they're not necessary. It's a lot of extras that I think our children don't need. I think they would do just fine doing the handwriting workbook on their own without the videos. So I recommend just skipping the videos altogether for handwriting. Another thing that I'm doing is bookmarking where I want my children to start in a video. A lot of the videos have review in them, especially the math videos. And so sometimes there's content in there that I don't think that they need, that I don't think is necessary for them. And so I will bookmark where I want them to start, and then that will eliminate some screen time for them because they're not having to watch maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes of a video. Another thing that we are doing is with reading, all of my kids are skipping the phonics section of reading. I use a different spelling phonics program, so those phonics lessons really aren't adding anything to my kids' phonics and spelling instruction. It's just extra. We don't need it. So they know they do the reading program, and when it gets to the phonics portion, they can stop. And if you've used the reading distance learning program, you know that the front side of the worksheet for reading has to do with the reading and the back side has to do with the phonics. So my kids know that they never have to do the back side of the reading work text page. For math, the first half, like I mentioned, the first half of math is usually daily review and math fact drills. And we don't skip them all the time, but sometimes I will, like I said, bookmark them and skip that section in math, and so that my son is or my daughters are picking up they're starting math where the new concept is being introduced and they don't have to do all of that review. So I find that that's really helpful if they are doing pretty well in past concepts and they really just need the new information. They need that new lesson. Then I bookmark it for math and they just learn the new lesson. I also skip entire lessons. Yes, I do. There are some topics and lessons that I just don't think are either necessary for my students to learn, or I feel like they've already learned and they already know it, and it's just a waste of their time to watch the video and hear the same thing all over again. So there are a lot of lessons that I skip, and I usually just try to stay about a chapter ahead. So when my student starts a new chapter, I go to the next chapter and look at all the videos in there and just cross off, or if you're doing it distance learning online, I just check skip on all of those videos so they don't have to do the videos. Now this isn't going to shorten the screen time on a daily basis, but it's certainly going to help you get through the distance learning program in the long run. And in the long run, in a year, they're going to have a lot less screen time because you're skipping a lot of lessons. And I actually do that a lot. We have skipped a lot of lessons. Sometimes we have skipped entire chapters. We have done this for for science, for topics that I think are either not necessary for my student to learn right now, or it's something that I feel like they know pretty well. We'll just skip the entire chapter. But a lot of times, like in math, especially in the beginning of the school year, a lot of that math is review. I will skip all of the main lesson videos and only have my child watch the review lesson. So that review, the video that has the review of that chapter. They'll watch the review, they'll do the worksheet. If I was correct and they got everything or most of the things right on the worksheet, that kind of proves to me I was right. They did know that information or that material, and we just move on to the next chapter. If I find, oops, I thought they knew it and they don't, well, then we can go back and do those videos. But some chapters, we just skip the whole thing and I just have them watch the chapter review lesson. We also usually skip the cumulative reviews. I think for most subjects, I'm trying to think, I think for almost all my kids, for almost all of the subjects, I push skip on every single cumulative review video lesson. So we don't do those either. So I really try to evaluate with the video lessons, what part of each video is going to be beneficial to them. Do they need to watch all of the lessons in the chapter, or could they just watch the review lesson for that chapter? A lot of times I have them do all of the lessons and I think, you know what, they're understanding it really well. We skip the review, we skip the cumulative review. So I think the video lessons are excellent. I think they provide great content and material and teaching for our kids, but that doesn't mean that our kids need to learn all of it or need all of that review or need all of that information on a given day or in a given year. I think the best encouragement I can give to you when it comes to modifying the BJU Press Distance Learning program and really any curriculum that you use is to remember that curriculum is meant to be an aid and a tool to help us educate our children in the way that we think is best. We do not want to be a slave to the curriculum. We don't want to feel like we're chained to the curriculum and we have to do every single lesson exactly as it is written out in the lesson plans or every single video or whatever. The curriculum is a tool for us to use, and we can change it, we can modify it, we can crumple up work text pages and throw them in the recycling bin. We have the choice of modifying things so that they work the best for our children and for our family. So I hope that is an encouragement to you.